BPI Sports has always been a massive supporter of natural bodybuilding, so it only made sense for us and them to partner up. This episode of the podcast is brought to you by BPI Sports, and if you want to support them and us, use code Natty News Daily at checkout for some exclusive discounts off any of your orders. Enjoy the episode.
All right, guys, welcome back to the next installment of the Natty News Daily podcast. I believe this is episode 91 now, so we're over that land. GymPin. So this is going to be an interesting episode. There we go. There's definitely some bodybuilding history here, but also some entrepreneurship, some engineering fun for the gym. I think this is going to be a really good episode for a lot of people. And as Dan is our resident meathead engineer, I'm going to be sitting back, learning a little bit, hopefully, like you guys are, and I'm going to turn it over to Dan here to do some intros, and let's dive into it.
Cool. Yeah. So welcome to the podcast, guys. And why don't you introduce yourselves before we get going, and then we can get in a little bit of your history.
Yeah, sure. Chris, do you want to go first?
I missed that. I actually missed that bit. It went all digitized.
I apologize. I think I'm having issues with my mic here. So just looking for an intro of you guys. A little bit of your background, your history, and then we can get into the weeds and some stuff.
Sure. I'm Chris. I've known Ben for probably must be 4 or 5 years now. We set up GymPin in 2020. I have a background in left school. I went and did an apprenticeship in tool making, plastic injection molding. So I learned to very quickly be able to chase half a thou here, half a thou there, and got very OCD with making things. Love making things whenever out of mainly steel. I enjoy cars, going to the gym, and I met Ben through training. We both like training. We went into business together, and the rest is history.
Basically, yeah. So my name is Ben Clark. A lot of people know me as Ben at GymPin, which is the name on the Instagram. Just in terms of training, I've been training for sort of 12 to 15 years. I've always been in and around gyms and always loved my training. I remember working in a little call center throughout college. And I used to go on and read does anyone remember simplyshredded.com? No,
yeah.
Just
yeah.
me.
I do. Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
cool.
Oh, yeah.
I remember reading the interviews of natural bodybuilders, Doug Miller and people like that on there. What's Aaron? What's his name from Australia? I don't know. I can't remember his name. But anyway, natural bodybuilders from Australia, and general natural bodybuilders from around the world, and I remember just following this scene, and then obviously as Instagram took off, and the UK natty scene is quite big these days. I follow that quite extensively. You've got the boys like AJ and Jack and George and various others all helping promote that. In terms of GymPin though, so as Chris said, Chris and I have got another business together, so we're business partners prior to GymPin. GymPin itself, I was training in the UK. We have a chain of gyms called Total Fitness. It's not particularly hardcore, similar to something like Planet Fitness, I suspect, over in the States. But I was doing a live fitness adductor, the one with the rotational add-on weight at the top. And I was doing it for weeks on end, just running the logbook, and I was doing 20, 30, and I did something like 40 reps with the full stack. And I was completely bored of training this way, and I was just thinking of ways that we could add more weight to the stack. I've always been quite enterprising and trying to think of new things, and I just thought there's got to be an adapter or something that we can add to the stack, which will allow me to add another 10, 15, 20 kilos, 30, 40 kilos if needs be. Luckily, I knew the man for the job, who's sitting opposite you today. We sketched out a very, very rough drawing of something which we thought might work. Chris sort of said, leave it with me. And then a few days later came up with first variation. Looking back, I think we can both agree, Chris, it was absolutely abysmal. And the first variation had flanges on each end, but then as soon as you had a guard on the machine, it wouldn't fit through the guard on the machine, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Too wide.
So
Yeah.
quite too wide. So it had a sort of 3 or 4 inch flange on it, and quite quickly that got deleted. It turned out they were too heavy. They weren't strong enough, and I can't remember, Chris, how many iterations we did before we felt we had one that was commercially viable. But we went through the iterations, and eventually we thought, actually, there might be something in this. People all over the world might have the same problem. You know, I like to think I'm strong. I'm not the strongest guy in the gym by any stretch of the imagination, but I figured if I can stack machines at, say, 200 pound body weight, there's got to be big boys and girls all over the world who've got a similar problem and who don't find the stack challenging enough. So then we started to put them online. Started Instagram, started Facebook pages, put them on eBay. And we started to sell them. We started to sell them to obviously we're based in Manchester, which is in the northwest of the UK, but we started to sell them to places like Ireland and France, which at the time was just unbelievable that people were buying them from overseas. And we started to sell to America, and we thought, wow, we're onto something here. And then we've just gone from there. Really, we've just carried on doing it every day, and it's taken off really well.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you said you started the company in 2020. When were you first tinkering and experimenting and coming up with your first iterations? Was that in 2019 then?
It's around about lockdown, but
the first iterations were made at the start of 2020, and then we started selling them in 2020 as well. It was quite a quick
turnaround.
Quite a quick turnaround, quick route to market. We were excited to get them out, and long-term followers of the brand will remember that the first ones didn't even have a sticker on the end, or didn't even have any logo at all. We were so excited to get them to market that we didn't even bother putting a logo on the end. We didn't have a brand name. The original Instagram was called weight_stack_extender_pin.
I love that. I love that, because I think there's something to not necessarily perfecting it the first time and just doing it, just putting it out there. And is that something that you guys think? Or
yeah, I mean, we're very much led by the customers. They said it wasn't strong enough. We had to go and make it stronger. Because I surely wasn't lifting what some of the customers were lifting. So I would just continue to try and make. We've got the mini pin here. I'll just show you. We've got the mini pin, GymPin, and Kingpin. Really, we started off with the first GymPin, 6 inches long, and you can fit a fair amount on this. We got the people saying, well, I use bumper plates, which are much thicker, need more room. You can put more room on. You can put more on the Kingpin, but you just have to make it stronger, because the more you put on, the more it's going to go through this bit.
You got to in the moment arms longer. Yes, as further you load out. Yeah.
We quickly realized that the aluminium thing can look pretty and hold the weight central. The thing, which is why we think we've got a good strong GymPin, is this bit here. So that's really what our work has been on, is making this bit nice and strong, because no one wants it to bend. No use if it bends.
And how have you guys gone about that? Is that with different manufacturing for the steel and different processing, or because I know you can cold work and hot work? And
my background in plastic injection mold tools helped me ascertain what the right material was and what the right properties that was required. So we've got a recipe for our pins, and been a lot of work put into that bit.
So Chris, do you have an access to a machine shop then, and where you can fabricate, and then how are you doing the testing as well? Initially, I'm curious in that process.
So I before we before we got set up, I would operate out of my dad's garage. So he's got a pretty good, fully kitted workshop, big scrap bin. And the first one was made, I tried to reach down for it before. I thought I had it in the drawer. And the first one was just made out of tube, a cap on the end, larger cap on the other end, which made the flange. We were trying to make it what looked like a barbell, essentially. And the first pin that I ended up welding in was just out of the scrap bin. What I had lying around was just mild steel. It looked the part, but it looked okay at the time. Doesn't look like they look much better now, but I gave it to Ben. He went away and tried it, and it just went flopped down. So that's when we knew this wasn't quite as simple as it seems.
Yeah, there was never any intention to sell them worldwide. Like the first one that Chris made was, you know, respectfully to Chris, it wasn't particularly good looking. It wasn't aesthetic at all. But it served a purpose, and as soon as I got it out of my bag, I got a few people around the gym asking me what it was and where they could buy it from. And then, you know, I gave some feedback back to Chris, and we just decided to start making them. And to go back to your question, we just sort of got started. We didn't really. We got started. We've listened to feedback. We've tested. We've tweaked. We've reviewed the range. We've tried to improve it where we can, and we've taken customers' feedback on board. It was never, you know, it was very much what you mentioned before, Dan, about sort of getting started and not being perfect, and you know, trying. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? We just wanted to get started and get the word out there. We were excited more than anything. We're excited to help people train with our stuff.
It happened.
And you might. Oh, go ahead. I don't want to interrupt you at all.
We at the beginning we didn't get our heads together and say we want to do a gym brand. We want to make cool stuff. We want to do a gym focused brand and make accessories. We were already in business. Ben just said, "I need something like this. Can you make me one?" The first one I rattled up over the weekend with stuff out of the scrap bin. Very small batch sizes to begin with. It started on Instagram, didn't it then?
Yeah.
And it just batch sizes just got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Oh, we can make changes here. We can make it better here, and it's sort of happened as we've gone. And then we realized this thing. Well, people wanted to buy them, so we just keep making them.
That's wild. I love that story. Yeah.
I was going to say, you answered kind of what I was going to say there, right? Like some of the most successful businesses, it's not about people sitting down and saying, how can we get rich? How can we make money? It's, I have a problem. I want to solve my problem. And along the way, I realized that a lot of other people have this problem as well. So you found the problem and there's the solution. And then along the way, you know, you might think something's perfect, right? It might fit exactly what you want, but like you said, you got it out there, you started getting the feedback, and now you've kind of adapted it to fit other people's needs as well. So now it's not just about you guys anymore. It's, you know, it's a global market for you guys.
Yeah, quite literally. And we've, you know, we don't know how people will treat them. So we had to make them as strong as possible. You know, I knew, for example, that I would treat my belongings very, very well. And if I would never, you know, at the end of a set, I would never drop the stack onto it, but you don't know what customers are going to do. So we have to over-engineer them to try to take into account every possible outcome. They were originally made from steel, as Chris said, but then we changed the body to aluminium so that we could, the goal, another interesting, something people might find interesting is when we first set out, we thought, all right, this is quite interesting. Like we've got some momentum here. And then we're like, okay, right, what's the goal? So the goal, initially we said the goal was so every gym in the world. Let's try and get these products into every gym in the world. So then we started approaching gyms directly, and some people said, no, we don't like the idea of that. So then the idea became, well, every gym bag in the world. And to do that, we needed the product to be light enough to carry in your gym bag. And the idea has always been to keep these things in your gym bag like you would your straps, your chalk, anything else. So we needed them to be as strong as possible whilst also being light as possible to keep in your gym bag and bring out when the time is right, so they're not onerous to carry around day to day in your gym bag. And I think we cracked it. So I think we cracked it.
That's tremendous.
That was something I was going to ask, was if you guys had approached any like commercial entities or anything like that. But it sounds like that might have been one of the first steps you guys did, and realize that that wasn't necessarily your niche.
Originally, when we went into lockdown, everyone was buying home gym equipment like crazy, and we were wanting to get, people were buying it for their own gym in their own house. So they were the owners of their equipment, and they were quite happy to use that. When lockdown lifted, it started finding its way into commercial gyms, and that's when we realized people want these for themselves. It's not the sort of thing typically gets left in the gym. People take it home with them.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think probably you're finding that more and more individuals, at least I know in the community that I'm in, and maybe in the US a little bit more, like the home gym, garage gym community is just thriving right now. So, it's probably a good time for you guys because of that.
Yeah. Well, I had no idea that the home gym community or the home gym scene even existed in the States. In the UK, we don't have anything like that at all because we don't have the space. In America, you've got your big double and triple car garages, as you call them, or garages as we call them, and they're all, people put their life and soul into the gym, and it's whereas in the UK we just don't have that. It's very, very rare to see a very good facility at someone's home. The majority of people train in gyms, so we figured, let's approach the gyms. It will some don't get me wrong, some gyms love the idea of our products, and then they do buy a lot of our products. Some gyms don't, which is fine. We're not here to sell to everyone. But as Chris said, the end user became our primary focus, and we're trying to get them in gym bags is the goal.
So with that, you said with the rise in home gyms, I mean, that's kind of how I started using them, because for my home gym, for my free motion, for some of my machines, I saw it as very useful to have. Have you seen most of your sales in the US then, or kind of a split? Because obviously you guys are UK based. So I'm curious to hear kind of what your market looks like.
It's a much bigger market than the UK, that's for sure. So we sell more than 50% over to the States, yeah.
Wow.
But it's a fair share, yeah.
Yeah. We've got our distributor over in California, On Repeat Sports. So shout out to On Repeat Sports. They stock our things over there. We also ship directly to the States. But it's a much bigger market than we first anticipated, for sure.
That's terrific. Yeah,
That's exciting.
I've seen just the growth of it. Go ahead.
Yeah. I was just going to say, I mean, do you know off the top of your head how many countries you have shipped to?
We last counted quite a few months ago. Do you know if the numbers changed since then, Chris?
We would sell to anywhere that the website would allow. The entire list. We opened up shipping to there. We've sold to some unusual places. We'll send it to anywhere that the post will let us send it to. We'll send it.
To answer your question, James, it's sort of 70 plus countries so far.
That's impressive. That's awesome.
That is impressive.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And
Yeah, all from something coming out of the scrap bin, right?
I think that's the beauty of how the social media has affected it, because quite right, it started in a scrap bin, and it started in my dad's garage, and Ben was able to put it, reach every corner of the globe essentially through social media. So it's very it just shows what you can do on social media. I mean, we've had fantastic growth. There's companies that would make us look, minuscule, but I think Ben's done, considering what we've got with the niche and the product that we've got, I think he's done tremendously well.
And that was actually kind of a question I was thinking about. So with social media and marketing, all that sort of stuff. So obviously, to a certain extent, you guys have grown very organically. But obviously you've seen, in 2 years, an explosion of growth. I mean, now I'm seeing your products in like Hunter Labrada's videos, and they're talking about it and all over the place. So Could you touch on how you've leveraged social media marketing, reaching out to people? Well, obviously we have a code with you guys. How have you gone about that, and how have you iterated that process? Because beyond just making a good product, I mean, marketing it and getting the word out and your name out is obviously huge too. So I'd love to hear how you guys went about that.
If you'd have asked me my thoughts on social media 3 years ago, I would have told you that well, I won't say what I would have said, but I would have told you it's not for me. I would have told you it's not for me, and I've got better things to do with my time. But the business has really opened up my eyes to the power of social media. I love it. I spend a lot of my time on it. I love interacting with people all over the globe. In terms of getting the name and the brand out there, we're very, very fortunate in the fact, in this tiny little niche that we are operating in, is that people who are on Instagram, who are training very, very hard, and who are the big names in the industry, want to improve their training at any cost. And if someone can provide a product which will allow them to do that, 99% of the time they will be open to doing so. So we've simply reached out to a few people and said, hey, hey guys, do you want to try this out, and let us know? And we don't do any obligation. There's no obligation, that we don't expect anything in return. But we're very, very fortunate in being able to say that the people who promote our product do so because they like the product. And we wake up and we've had a tag from Sean Clarida, or we've had a tag from, like you say, Hunter Labrada, or we've had a tag from other IFBB pros and World's Strongest, Nick Best and people like that who've tried the product and like the product. And it is a real pinch me moment, because as a sort of fan of the sport and as a fan of strength training in general, you follow these guys on Instagram and you watch the World's Strongest Men competitors, and you watch Eddie Hall using in World's Strongest Man and stuff like that, and then you see the products that we've made over the past 2 years in his YouTube videos. Ian Valier and Chris Bumstead and stuff using our products. It's a real pinch me moment. We've just had to get the word out there, and it's just grown tremendously, quite frankly.
There's a lot of integrity in the product, right? It's not like, you look at supplements, like supplement companies are always, hey, our product's better than theirs. We have this magic ingredient. You look at all these different things in the market, and it's all trying to just, you don't have to sell your product. It stands on its own. Like, hey, you have a problem, we have the solution to the problem. It's as simple as that. It is what it is, right? You don't have to be evidence. There's no research behind it. Well, there is research, but there's not like someone countering that it doesn't do what it does. You can see it working.
Yeah, it's self-explanatory. And that was real. Just to touch upon, people ask me where the name came from. Where did GymPin come from? And I'd love to tell you that there's an extensive, round table discussion. But as I said to you earlier, the name was the original Instagram name was weight_stack_extender_pin. And I said to a friend at the time, I said, we've started selling these products and it's a pin that you use in the gym. So I was thinking about calling it GymPin. And she said, yeah, sounds good. And that was it. And it's stuck. But, it is a pin that you use in the gym. We probably could have put more effort into the name, but the name translates very well around the world. So we get people who tag us in their respective language, and then it'll say GymPin at the end, and people understand what that is. It's a pin that you use in the gym. And there is a sort of integrity to that. It is self-explanatory, like you say, James.
Simplicity is nice, and it describes the product well. So
yeah,
I can't argue with it, but yeah, just this whole story is so cool. So you guys are expanding your line too. I've seen you produce some machine extenders and some of the bar that can carry the D handles. What kind of got you into that? What are the future things that you see for GymPin? What are you trying to get into?
Well, just on the GymPin aspect, we very quickly realized we couldn't just make a one size fits all, and we now make 10 different varieties, all different shapes, sizes to accommodate different pin diameters, different thicknesses of plates, different machines. Some machines have a guard around the front of it, so you can't you can't go ahead and put a kingpin in it. You have to remind me, Ben, that we had a customer that said he did exactly this. He put it into the weight stack. Went and did a rep, and it actually went and bent the machine instead of bent the gym pin.
Yeah, we had a guy who was doing a lat pull down. He's a big boy. He's from Scotland. I think his name's Alex. I'll tag him. But he was doing a lat pull down or something like that, and one of the kingpin hit one of the cross members, and the machine dented, whereas the GymPin didn't, which was quite cool. But we've always listened to customers, and we've always been sort of customer led. People have asked us, do you think you can make something to do with this? And we thought, yeah, that's a good idea. So we'll do that, and we'll bring out extenders for the ends of hammer strength machines. A common one is you see that the hammer strength row gets maxed out quite a lot, and people stand back, as you've seen, people stand back with their arm against the pad to change the moment arm. You have to shift a lot more weight, and if you're using bumper plates which are 2 or 3 inches thick, then you're only going to get probably 4 plates on, which is just not enough. So we then brought out the machine extenders and the D-handle bar. We had a D-handle. We thought, well, whilst we were going into the home gym market, we thought, well, it'd be good to bring out a very versatile bar so people don't have to have 8 to 10 different types of bars in their home gym and taking up space and spending money on it. So we brought out this bar, which meant that a guy who is quite broad can train, and his wife can use D-handles just slightly narrower. And it's one bar, and it's very, very versatile, and it works perfectly. We had a guy who was training in. Do you remember that guy? There was a guy in Finland who was training outdoors, and he wanted a stainless steel version because he was training outdoors, and he didn't want any chance of any oxidizing at all. So that's what we then brought out the stainless steel version with him in mind and other people in mind, and it worked out really well. So we're all every comment and every tag on social media we see and we discuss in house, and we try to take it on board and to the benefit of the brand and the benefit of the range.
I love that process, and I that's why you guys, I think, are successful, is because rather than, as James said before, kind of starting with how can I make money, you're starting with the problem first and saying, this is a problem, how do we solve it, and then make money off of that. It's starting by identifying the problem first, then finding a solution, rather than starting at the last step sort of thing. So I really like that, how you guys have approached that. Very, very cool.
Thank you.
We are coming up on kind of the end of our time here. So are there any closing thoughts or anything else you want to plug or discuss real quick before we wrap things up here?
We've been very busy in the lab producing new prototypes. There's a few things going on behind the scenes. We're looking at doing more attachments to complement our D-handle bar. We just actually, as we record this, we are just having our first batch, very, very close to being finished. They'll be going for coating within probably next week. This is a version 2 of our D-handle bar. So that's going to look and feel different. It's going to feel very, very, very nice in the hand, and be what's one thing that we've had to consider setting a manufacturing business up at this time is what material prices have been doing. Prices everywhere have been going up. That's been a big consideration for us, and we've almost had to learn, jumping at the deep end, if you like, in terms of supply chain, solidifying supply chain, making things, trying to keep costs and sale prices realistic. We've done a lot of work on the D-handle bar, and that'll be launching very, very soon. And then attachments to come soon after.
We'd like to bring out, you may have seen on the website, we do sell the D-handle bar with the Angles 90s. They're very good. Shout out to the boys over in Italy. They're made in Italy, and we distribute them via our website around the world as well. We want to bring out some D handles, we think, at some stage. We want to bring out some clothing at some stage, and we're just finalising a few samples for clothing and t-shirts and things like that. But our ears are always open. If anybody has any good ideas, anybody has a problem in the gym that they think needs solving, then please comment, send us a DM, send me a voice note on Instagram or TikTok, and ask us, because if you've got the problem and someone else has probably got a similar problem, and there might be a solution that we can come up with.
Yeah,
Very welcome
like
here for me.
Yeah.
Awesome. So where can everyone find you then?
The Instagram is gym_pin. The TikTok is GymPin _. Email is hello@gym-pin.co.uk. Any way you'll get in touch with us, we'll respond very quickly. We're always happy to speak to people. It's always good fun interacting with people around the world.
Awesome. I appreciate both your guys' time and joining us today and talking business, talking shop. So thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Gents.